I'm Johnny Rowland, your host of the Shooting Show. Welcome to this week's edition. And normally I start off holding some sort of gun. This week I'm holding the American Handgunner magazine. And right up here at the top, we got us a headline, friends. It says, Special Magnimize Your 1911. And we really appreciate, hey, we didn't buy an ad with these people. They did it out of their own volition there to print a very nice article by John Taffin. We've been talking about this for a couple of weeks. I finally got my hands on the magazine. But you can see we got some nice color pictures, and Taffin says the 460 Rowland turns a 1911 into a 44 Magnum with a simple drop-in kit from Clark Custom Guns. Very nice article, and we really appreciate what they've done. We appreciate John Taffin because, see, one, a lot of people throughout the industry and throughout the shooting enthusiasts have heard about our cartridge. But they, you know, it's one thing to hear me say something and demonstrate something here on the program, but when you have someone from an outside source, as in one of these magazines, it shores up what we've been saying the whole time. And I appreciate Taffin going to the effort there. Of course, it helps everybody. One, it's great news for shooting, and we really appreciate everyone who's bought these kits. And, you know, we're having a lot of calls now, and for the next several months, actually, we're supposed to have something coming up in Shooting Times magazine, as I understand. And I tell you, they have got, since they a little bit misstated what our cartridge was, calling our 460 a Wildcat, they have called them grief over that. So hopefully we're going to have a nice article from them before too long. And there'll be others. We really appreciate that. Well, friends, honestly, here in Louisiana today, this is Thursday as we're taping this, thankfully, we're getting a little rain because burn bans have been out. It has been hot and dry and dusty, and thankfully, we're getting a little rain today, but I didn't get to go out and do my intro as I had planned. We do have a great show for you. We're going to talk about a number of things on today's program. We're going back in time and look at some things from years past because we've only got hundreds of shows that we've done a lot of neat stuff on. So I think we're going to have some features today you're going to enjoy. Also, Steve Forbes is going to be on the program today. And let me tell you what, friends, I was impressed. I was shocked. You know, since Senator Smith is out of the, who certainly is a great friend and I think be a wonderful president of the United States, Steve Forbes is still in the Republican Party. Steve Forbes is still competing, and Steve Forbes has the money to compete. I went over to the get-together a few days ago where we interviewed Steve, and I was prepared for, well, I thought he's probably a nice fella. I said, it's probably going to be, just be an okay presentation. Let me tell you what, I just had my camera handheld just sitting there, and I figured, we just get a few minutes of it and make reference for you folks on the program. Let me tell you what, I turned the camera on, and I didn't turn it off because his presentation was so good. It was absolutely terrific. And I said, wait a minute, and we'll play some of his speech there on our gospel program in a little while. But we're going to do our interview with Steve Forbes and let him talk to our Shooting Show audience during the program today. I think you're going to be impressed. Also, a number of things we want to touch on. We do have a trademark on our 460 Rowland cartridge now. We own a trademark. So it's going to be hard for the larger companies to steal it from us. We have been contacted by one of the largest ammunition companies about working with us and Georgia Arms in making our cartridge available on a wider scale. And it's maybe some time before they do it, but we're talking. So that's a positive thing. Also, I want to mention UPS has stopped. If you want to send your handgun in to us here at the show to get some work done on it, have a kit fitted, if you got any problems or you want to have something else done, you're going to have to pay about $35 through UPS. Now, they've just done this, and apparently they had a lot of theft. I suppose in handguns going to dealers and back to individuals, I don't know why. Maybe they're being politically correct, but I tell you what, we could ship a handgun anywhere in the U.S. for, what, $6, $7, somewhere there on UPS ground. Now, if we send UPS, it's going to go next day air, which is going to cost about $35. And I think that's pretty outrageous. And I don't think it's, maybe they had a huge problem with theft. Well, that's crazy. So if you want to complain about that, their 800 number is listed there in the phone book. It's 1-800-PIC-UPS, 1-800-PICK-UPS, and talk to somebody in administration, tell them what you think. Say, this is ridiculous. Why are you punishing the smaller companies, the people who don't send? Now, see, they're still going to let the majors, people that send massive numbers of handguns or larger numbers of handguns, still going to let them do it. But what it's going to affect is those of us that send a gun in for repair or something like that, and they're going to nail the smaller people who do it. And I think that's pretty outrageous. You can still send guns. Federal Express, and Federal Express is a good company. They've supported shooting in the past. So I encourage you right now, I'm sending all the handguns out that we have going out. It's going Federal Express. And certainly I think that's pretty outrageous. Well, and one other thing too, Gray Davis, the recall Gray Davis, or Red Davis as some are calling him in California, is really starting to gain steam. So we're very hopeful about that, because a lot of good people in California that are really suffering under this liberal socialist regime. You know what, friends? One of the reasons that the liberal socialists are so anti-gun, we've got a good decision in Cincinnati today. A case was thrown out against Ruger and somebody else down there. The judge said it was ludicrous. It was a ludicrous charge that somebody should be held responsible for someone else misusing their product. We had a big win today in Cincinnati. Of course, the liberal socialist anti-gun people are going to try and appeal it, but see, this may knock all these lawsuits by these cities, these tobacco-type lawsuits against the gun companies, this may knock all that in the head. So we're very hopeful about that. And so that is certainly a win for us. But here's a point I want to make briefly. These people who want to take our guns away, the useful idiots out there, you know, we've called them mentally retarded liberal socialists because they can't learn from history. They're in denial since their system of liberal socialism has failed. They're looking for something else to blame it on. They're looking for something else to blame crime on. They're looking for something else that the root cause of the trouble is their failed socialist programs. They're in denial. So, hey, they're going to blame an inanimate object. And if we don't stand up for our rights, they're going to disarm us. Let's get a show underway. Let's go back in time to 1994 and let's use an intro from there. We have some neat stuff. Hope you enjoy our show.
Stay tuned for more of The Shootin' Show after these important messages.
The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station.
Now, friends, here's one of the most important publications you can get. This is the Great Georgia Arms Catalog, and please write their phone number down, 1-800-624-6861. This is a tremendous catalog with the best ammunition prices available in the United States. Okay, well, here's a mention of the Shooting Show. Hey, that's reason enough to support them right there, but you get superior ammunition at superior prices. Let's look over here. Whoops, let's see, what do we see? 460 Rowland, yes indeed, but we also see a tremendous number of other things. 45 ACPs, 44 Magnums, 41 Magnums, certainly our defense load there, defense special 41 Magnum load available, but all kinds of others. 9mm, 357 SIGs, 44 specials, 30-06s, 7 mags, all kinds of neat stuff. Plus they have components. If you want to load your own, they'll sell you lead bullets, they'll sell you Noshler bullets, all kinds of great features. Yes, in fact, they'll even sell you a 460 Rowland kit for the great 1911 guns, cleaning accessories. Here's gunpowder for sale, loading equipment for sale. Friends, give them a call today. These are some of the finest people, period, that I've ever had a chance to meet. Curtis Shipley, and our good friend Larry Haney from Georgia Arms, and they're helping to support the shooting show. Give them a call today. Get a free catalog, 1-800-624-6861. And please don't forget to tell them you saw it here on our show. Hello, I'm Johnny Rowland, your host of the Shooting Show, and welcome again to this week's program. I think we have another great show lined up for you today. I think we're going to have some features, some guests that you're going to be interested in seeing. Well, friends, let's start off this week's program with a couple of 41 Magnums. We have a couple of targets out here, and we've done this before on the program, and someone said, well, Johnny, there must be a trick to shooting two guns at once. Well, there is. All you have to do is you sort of disengage your eyes, and you can shoot two guns at the same time. Now, friends, we have a most unusual handgun we're going to look at today. This is a Daewoo 9mm, and it is a double stack, or a 13-round magazine. We'll call it double stack because, in fact, they are down in the magazine there. It holds 13, and it has a smaller, shall we say, smaller full-size 9. It's not quite as large, say, as a Browning high power. It has a 4-inch barrel. And there are a couple of things about the Daewoo that make it a little different than what we're used to. Briefly, I'll explain. The action itself, when you take it down and look at it, is very similar, in fact, to the Smith & Wesson type semi-automatic pistol. From the way it looks, it has a similar slide stop there. The barrel is made similar to what we're used to in seeing Smith & Wessons, but this gun has a most unusual property. It has a frame-mounted safety when you push the safety on, or in fact when you cock the pistol. And I'm going to go ahead and put the safety on. The gun is cocked now. Are you with me so far? All right. You don't touch the trigger. You just take your thumb and push the hammer down. So essentially what you have is a cocked and safety locked on gun with the hammer down. And what will happen, and we know of course this gun's empty, what happens is when you push your safety, well, of course, hammer's down, push your safety off, and although the hammer's down, it takes a very light pull, and the hammer goes back to the full cock position. Now then, it is also a double action, as the trigger can also cock the hammer, as well as in single action, release it. This is the most unusual quality that this gun has. Now, to tell you the truth, I'm not sure why. One, I'm sure their idea was to make the transition from the double action pull very light and simple. You can carry the gun with the safety off and hammer down, or for that matter, carry the safety on, and although it's cocked, the hammer is still down. So this is just a different, it would probably make some people, if they saw the gun in a holster, with the hammer down, it would make them a little less nervous. Sometimes people stop me if they see me carrying my Colt single action semi-automatic, the Colt 1911, and they'll say, hey, do you know your gun's cocked? I said, well, yes, it is. That's the way it's designed to be carried in condition 1, hammer cocked, safety locked on. So maybe for that reason, I'm not sure. Well, friends, as you can see, the gun here I'm holding, it does have nice, easy to see sights. And although out at 25 yards, and I said a moment ago that the gun showed fair accuracy, the groups it would shoot look pretty good, 3.5 inches or so at about 20 yards. The only difficulty that we had, as I stated earlier, was the gun shot about 10 inches above point of aim using the sights. And I would think that you'd need a rear sight replacement, or certainly talk to the importer or the manufacturer about that. As far as functioning, the gun has functioned real well so far. Looking at the way the gun, the action, or in fact, let's look at the barrel first. You have a little bulb on the end of the barrel there, similar to a Smith & Wesson. The lug and cam arrangement on the barrel is similar to what we're used to with Smith & Wessons. But you have an external drawbar or push bar here on the side, similar to the Beretta or the Taurus. But this particular feature of being able just to push that hammer down is something that we're totally unfamiliar with. And I suppose it would just make some people more comfortable about having a cocked and locked gun with that hammer down. I would not carry this gun without the safety on. It has, of course, the ambidextrous safety, which hinges at the front of the safety, As you can see here, up is on and down is off. And of course, you have little red dots there. You can see that will tell you that the safety is off. It is a different concept. If you did have a misfire on the gun, all you have to do, and we know this gun's unloaded, if you had a misfire, you have the option of pulling the trigger again, because it is a double action semi-automatic. The trigger will cock the hammer as well as release it. But it's a little bit confusing. This is going to be one that you're going to have to work with some. My particular views on this would be to always have it cocked, I suppose, and that hammer down. And of course, all you have to do is, when the safety is on, it stops everything. It disengages your trigger completely. Okay, push your safety off, and a light touch on the trigger will cock that hammer, and then it goes back in the single action mode. So it's just going to take some getting used to. This is, as I said earlier, a nicely made gun. The surfaces all look good. You do have a somewhat loose fit between the frame and slide, but I really don't see that as a problem. As far as accuracy goes, what counts is the barrel to slide lockup, essentially. So it's going to be something that some of you will be interested in, and you know, we're always trying to show you something different. The 13-round magazine, it is a fairly compact gun for its capacity and its capabilities.
Stay tuned for more of the Shootin' Show after these important messages.
Friends, here it is. This is the great Kramer holster for our 460 Rowland 1911s. It's available from our good friend Dennis Crocker. You can call him at area 864-587-8722. Again, 864-587-8722. He can also get you holsters made by the great Kramer Company for other guns, so give our friend Dennis a call. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Steve Forbes, candidate for the Republican nomination for the presidency of the United States. Steve, really enjoyed your speech. I know our Shooting Show audience, our Christian audience also, is going to be very interested to hear what you had to say. Let me ask a couple of quick questions.
Sure.
What is your stance on our Second Amendment in our Constitution?
Well, I believe in the Second Amendment, and I think it's critical. The real issue is enforcement. We don't need new laws. We need to enforce the laws we have. And for all the talk of the Clinton-Gore administration, their prosecution of criminals who commit crimes with firearms is way down. They don't go after people who try to get arms illegally, who have criminal felonious past. So enforcement is the key. Where you have enforcement, that way law-abiding people can have firearms, and those who shouldn't won't.
What's your stand on these executive orders that have been so worrying to a lot of us, sir?
This is supposed to be a democracy. It's supposed to be a republic with divided powers. It's not Louis XIV issuing decrees.
If people want to get involved in helping your campaign, how can they do that, Steve?
There are two ways you can do it. One is through our website, Forbes2000.com, or you can call our toll-free number, 1-800-706-0004. That's 706-0004. And we'll get the information to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, John.
Now, friends, we're going back in time again. Here's a piece we ran from Jim Cirillo, a very famous firearms and tactics instructor, and he's talking to a group of police officers. I think this is important.
Spoke yesterday of tactics that you should employ, and the most important would be naturally cover, concealment, and distance. Now, why would you want to have to do that other than for protecting yourself? Also, for perhaps protecting someone else. And I want you to realize, and this is especially true of police officers, not much civilians, but many of my police officers that I teach have a feeling that because they got that badge, that uniform, that gun, they are the supreme lord in that area. But they forget that they may be overlapping maybe 4 or 5 other lawful jurisdictions. DEA, plainclothes, local narcotics, local crime fighters, street crime fighters, plainclothes, detectives, and narcotics squad. So they also, not only that, armed guards, or that may be undercover. Also, civilian pistol licensees. Does that mean that everybody you're going to see with a gun in his hand is a felon? No. That's why you must employ the tactics of getting that cover, concealment, or distance to afford you that tactic that you must find out if that in fact is the enemy. You'll be very embarrassed if you find out you shot a narcotics cop or a federal officer, FBI, or one of the various overlapping jurisdictions of law enforcement, or even a pistol licensee. We've had this happen in New York City PD many times. I know of 3 sets of cops shooting at each other before they realized they were all cops. And what had happened was, this one fella's in a bar having a few beers. Everybody knew that was Willie, the local cop, right? They come over to Willie. They, hey, Willie, this guy down on the end of the bar here, this little guy, he's got a pistol. He's showing everybody he's got a little automatic. And we don't think he's a cop or anything, right? Willie says, he's got to show the boys. He's got a few in him. He's got to show the boys he's macho and he's the boss in the area. He goes over, hey, you got a license for that gun? He goes, yeah, sure. Boom! Hits him right in the thigh and takes off and runs out the bar. Well, Willie runs out after him. It was only a .25 automatic. Now, Willie and him are engaging in a fight. This guy runs behind a car. Willie now ducks behind a mailbox. They're shooting at each other. On coming up on a scene is anti-crime, plain clothes. They're all dressed like Willie's opponent. You know, they're wearing bandanas and they got the earrings and the long hair, right? Willie thinks they're his friends. Willie starts shooting at them. They shoot at Willie because they don't know Willie. They're from a division rather than from the precinct. Now, Willie and this crew are shooting at each other because the reporter come over, man with a gun. These anti-crime cops heard it. They responded to the scene. Now, detectives arrive on the scene because they get the same call. Man with a gun, right? They start shooting at anti-crime because they're from Willie's precinct and they know Willie. So now here's 3 sets of cops banging away at each other, right? Well, we lose one ankle, we lose an elbow. Nobody dies, thank God. And it wasn't until the radio car comes, uniformed police, that everybody signaled them, hey, over here. What? Well, they're cops too. So here's 3 sets of cops shooting at each other. Now, so, oh, by the way, the original guy, he took off. He was gone. So now, and how I know this case is a female lawyer. She retained me to teach her and teach her what was the normal use of force by police officers, legal use of force, what you must do, and so forth. And of course, they says nobody identified each other, and that was the big mistake. So now you as a pistol licensee must also remember this. Let us say now you engage in an altercation involving firearms, whether it be just to just de-escalate the force, you didn't want it to go any further, a guy had a club or a knife on you, and you say, oh, stop, Paul. You get a challenge. What are you going to do from behind you? What are you going to do if you get a challenge? And you've got this guy that you held a gun on that perhaps was ready to hit you with a bat or something, and you're protecting yourself, and you get a challenge from behind. What are you going to do? What would you do? Would you respond to it?
Whatever they say.
You bet. You know why? Who the heck is going to challenge you? If it's another that's with him, he's going to blow you away. It's probably another cop that's coming on the scene, and he sees a civilian with a gun, and he doesn't recognize you. The best thing you better do is actually put the gun and put your hands up, put the gun in a non-offensive position, holding it by the grip, and say, I'll put the gun down, you know, I'm a pistol licensee or whatever you are, showing your legal ability. You got to realize that with anybody that's walking around with a gun may not be a felon, plus law enforcement officers that come upon you with a gun, you've got to be sure that he doesn't feel the same way.
Stay tuned for more of The Shootin' Show after these important messages.
The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station.
Now, friends, here it is, the great 460 Rowland cartridge and guns chambered for them. Of course, we have the great Dan Wesson. We also have our full-size 1911 kit here, or we can actually sell you a new 460 gun, Kimber, Springfield, or others. And this is the Kimber Compact converted to 460 Rowland. Again, it gives us 44 Magnum power in a package that is much smaller, lighter, easier to shoot, less recoil, less muzzle blast. Friends, this may be the cartridge of the decade here. The 460 Rowland is available, of course, factory ammo from Georgia Arms. You can call us here at the program about kits and guns, including our AR-15 and others. And now for our support group, we have a new company, Brooks Communications in Albuquerque, New Mexico, for all your communications needs in that area. Give them a call, area 505-888-2929. We have Gearlings Equipment Rentals in Southern California, bringing heavy equipment. They can call them at area 909-354-6476. We have Cottrell Refrigeration, Heating, and Cooling there in Tuscumbia, Alabama. All your refrigeration needs, call Wade at 256-381-1887. We have custom leather work and saddlery, all kinds of leather work in Denham Springs, Louisiana. Their number is area 225-667-9225. We have Camouflage Technologies, the folks that paint gun stocks. You can call them at area 909-674-6488. And we have BC Armory in East Leroy, Michigan. Bruce works on pistols and revolvers. His number is area 616-729-5508. Friends, thank you for being with us on this week's program. We are out of time on this show, but we look forward to seeing you on the next Shooting Show.